music no one can ever refuse it. Pulsating, vibrating, reggae, reggae, reggae. Very sky, rock, steady, mental, a quadrillion.
Good morning, good afternoon to the listeners and viewers of the Real Stuff podcast. Today is Friday, and we have a special session today. It's all about female poetry and storytelling. And today, our moderator is going to be none other than Fofie, or Nana Fofie, whichever one you prefer. And with us also is Flavius. So go ahead, Nana Fofie.
Is Miss Isilda still here? Wonderful.
I'm still here.
Courtney, just catching up a little. Did you say something up today about females, like female poets and storytellers? Did you say that?
Yes, I did say that.
Because if you say that, then duty behooves me to say some certain things. And one of those
Okay,
things
ma'am.
is this.
Go ahead.
One of the things I've seen happening since the start of this new year, and perhaps kind of coming into space, you know, that process of emergence and emerging into being and into space and into thoughts and ideas since late last year, but certainly coming into specific focus this year is women. And not women in isolation, but women certainly connected with spirituality and the spiritual purpose of women on this earth space and the responsibilities that women carry for, you know, traditionally it's women who teach children about spirituality, you know that.
Yes.
And that's I think a contract we've reneged reneged on a little bit over time, you know. But also, you know, we also have the powerful mandate of the continuity of the human race. It is through the womb of a woman that life comes, in terms of, you know, whatever the kind is, because woman, we can say feminine, whatever the feminine aspect is, life comes through that aspect, origins in water and all of that, but comes through onto the earth space from that aspect. So women, I think, have come very powerfully into focus. I like the idea that you brought that, because as such, it not only validates, but puts in perfect context the relationship with women, storytelling, poetry, and healing, and all the other powerful things that women do, and how, in my head, and I don't know if Miss Isilda, being our first guest this morning, would like to speak to that. How do you position your poetry as a woman? What do you hope are some of that comes from it?
Well, definitely, for sure. I'm an advocate for women, you know, and so some of my poetry definitely speak directly on our behalf, you know, because of course, you know, for years we were just, you know, behind the men, for want of a better word, in just about everything. But little by little, you know, over the years, we have grown and we have been stepping, and now we're right beside them where we belong in just about everything.
Yes.
Some still old fashioned and thinking that it's, you know, some roles are just for male. And, you know, you still have a few male who would think that I can't have a woman, a female leading me. You know, I don't want to be under any female leadership, whether it be in church or in the workplace. So we have a few, but we're getting there.
Yes, I was curious by what you said just now of our being behind the men. And I don't want you to let the men think that we have a problem being behind them.
No.
Our situation, I would think, and let me know if you agree with me, is that we want to be in front of them and beside them as well. We want to surround them, because that's what you do with love.
I like that. I like that. Yes, I totally agree. Surround. So it's behind, before, and beside.
Surrounding them with love.
Yes, yes. Totally agree with that.
Our issue is that we've always felt that we only belong behind. We're not supposed to surround you and envelop you and just, you know, kind of adorn you with love. And in many ways, we're not allowed to do that, because not very many people interpret that as the interface between divine masculine, divine feminine, and man and woman, and all these kinds of, yeah. A lot of people see that interface very differently. You mentioned about your poetry being an advocacy, being the voice of women. Are you able to share anything with us that shows that? or speak to any kind of topic that you think would be relevant
Well,
to
I
this
remember
conversation.
there is one poetry that I well, my poetry is done in the dialect, and off the top of my head, I remember this one named Women on Strike. Basically,
Okay.
I love comedy. I love comedy, so a lot of my poetry is done in the comedic style. And so Women on Strike, meaning, you know, a group of women just come together and say, we're not doing no housework today, you know? So
I'm already laughing. I should, while you do this poem, no
so
disrespect, man, but while you do this poem, I'm going to mute my mic. I will laugh.
You want me to say that one?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, go
I've
ahead.
already started laughing.
Alrighty. Hold on, let me I have three copies of my book. I'm trying to see which one I had it. Okay, book number 1, 885. All right. Woman on Strike. Woman on Strike. All right. Every day I look on things. And I see life and fear. Cause as a woman, I just fear walk. No rest for the weary, me dear. But you know what we do? Is this side we go up and strike. And then make we all come together and put up a strong fight. Strike because we tired. How the life I go to a wreck. Tired of the fact that every day housework I give is stress. Every day we get up and clean and everybody else pull up. Every day we wash and fix and I saw them dirty up. Me don't know about you, but me tired of every day me tired. Me fed up that nobody no care, so strike after we can't get fired. We must stop from kill off ourselves just to make everything go well. Make we stop from get headache, make housework go to hell. Make somebody else do it. Time for your change, Mrs. Make me a while we sit down and relax. And last I give Nat Coast a visit. So come Marine, come Sue, Miss Campbell, you know, come too. Make we go on the roadside and show say we fed up where we are do. Derek get the marker, Shauna get the cardboard. Make we all come together and march go down the road. Michelle left the dirty house child. Misha girl put on the rake. Sandra left the dirty clothes and come Colette left the cooking to Jake. No housework now going today. Today, with frustration going to be heard. And all through the entire week, woman on strike is the word. Aye.
Well, I laughed all through that. But again, you know, what strikes me about this is how you have in that piece powerfully recognized the authority and permissions that women have.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like the word power because we often tend to use it in a kind of misleading kind of way. But if I were to use that word, I think one thing we have definitely walked out is the understanding of how women carry power, participate in God's power. And so that to me is just such a powerful poem. I love that it's in dialect. I don't think you could have meaning any other way. Any other way. But really saying women, we have the right and the responsibility to dictate some things. And that does not deprive the male of his right and responsibility to dictate some things. And so who leads and who follows is a question of the moment, not of the eternal journey in which we're all participating, but of the moment. You have certain strengths, I have some weaknesses. If it was, regardless of, it could be your mother, your father, that you have, regardless of the relationship, everybody comes to it with some strengths, and at the moment when that strength is needed, you put it there.
That's right. But
we're all walking, and earlier I made a joke about us all being on God's time when Courtney mentioned Eastern Standard Time. We're all on God's time.
All on God's time.
In a time and space where we want unity, and we want, again, the idea of surrounding each other with love, not leading from behind, not leading from anywhere, just coexisting and being in ceremony. Did you want to share some more with us today?
Sure.
Well, not everything, you know, because you're not going anywhere for the next, okay?
For the next how long?
We don't know yet. Spirit will decide.
Oh boy. All righty. Yeah. So I'll be sharing in 3 different aspects. about, what's happening nowadays, current affairs. And of course, I'm a spiritual person, so I will share from my faith.
Yes,
And
and,
I
and, and
also
perhaps
share.
later on, while you're doing this, think about it, because I'll ask you later on why you think spirituality and the fact that you're a woman permits you to meddle in current affairs. How is that relevant to current affairs? Yes.
All right.
Go on, share while you think about that.
All right. Okay.
Welcome,
Okay.
Christine.
All righty. This one named Time Hard. Mr. Time gets so hard. You have to be careful how you spend. For if you not budget yourself, you end up in a big problem. Sometimes you try cut back and tap from this and that. And by touch Thursday evening, nothing we put in at the pot. Uncle God know how we manage with the little way we earn. And so time hard, and so we ball, and some we no learn. We no learn to pinch and scrape with the small amount we got. We put we hat where we had to reach and drop flat on we back. Some get up and some can't. For them broke up every wriggle. And to how high the hat did they, God make them a live. Child, me know it hard. And every day we complain. But soon, Master God, we send blessing. Do Lord, make it rain. Sometimes I think to myself, I said, this too much to bear. For it a galang so, for if it a galang so, you know, what will happen to we next year. Aye, aye, aye.
Aye, aye, aye.
Thank you for sharing that. May I ask that we mute our mics, perhaps when the poetry is being delivered, is being gifted to us, so that we can hear it well and receive it well. Christine Neal Wright, welcome.
Hello, sorry about that.
That's all right. That's okay.
My apologies.
It happens. Don't worry. We're happy to have you. Am I seeing you?
No, I'm off camera right now. Unfortunately, I'm not able to show myself.
No problem at all. No problem. But welcome. And we spoke a little earlier in our introduction about this, about how the women are coming into the forefront of conversations this year. So far this year, I've seen that so many times. And here is this program now talking about women storytellers and women poets. And that is just so powerful to me and so meaningful in terms of how we are going to be using perhaps these tools. How we're going to be using these tools to create the world that we want. And so as existing poets, as existing storytellers, we're sharing, but we're talking about special people who have a mandate to deliver. We're talking about change agents who are mandated to be the catalyst of change. Isilda just mentioned just now that she's a very spiritual person. And one thing I think I would like to believe is that poets and storytellers are especially spiritual persons, because they do need that spiritual access. They do need spirituality to open some kinds of doors for them to bring to the world their gifts, their offerings through the poetry, through the storytelling that is being utilized. What would be your thoughts on this, Christine? If you don't mind sharing.
Well, I express myself in different ways. I write poetry. I also write stories. I don't have any that I would want to share right now because they're still under wraps for now. But in terms of poetry, I can share. I can share probably one or two. This one is talking about what is man, and this was definitely, you're hearing me clearly, right?
Mm-hmm. Very clearly.
Okay, good. So this one was written some years ago when a friend of mine, brother, died suddenly. He was hale and hearty, and the next thing you know, he was gone. Okay, so I looked into myself when he asked the question on Facebook, what is man? And what is man or what is woman? What are we? How the journey that we have here on earth, what have we done during our lives? and the journey from birth to death. And I put it into this. It took me a couple of hours to write based on the question that that he asked. It says, what is man? He races to the death, to seek life in the womb, impatient to become what he will become, and very soon. Watching his mother's eyes, absorbing her warmth, loving her nurture, hearing his father's voice, one day, he too will have his own adventures. Established and highly accomplished, and a mighty force to be reckoned with, running with the eternal flame of his past generation. His voice is strong, eyes twinkle with vision, adventure, joy, much love and laughter, on this marathon of faith and hopeful ever after. And though he raced to the death to obtain life, a successful, valiant battle to be, life took an unexpected U-turn, embracing death, mankind's worst and fearful enemy. What is man? He is an incredibly powerful creation whose spirit seems to live on in each posterity, whose image reflects somewhat the origin of life, whose wisdom flows through each of us by choice, whose love is indomitable, whose heart is deeper than the abyss in the ocean, whose life will never ever be forgotten. What is man? That man is you. That man is me. That's it for that one.
That is so beautiful. If I might ask, and it probably is a difficult question to answer, and if you don't want that answer, that's fine too. With the passing of this person, I'm sure there was a little grieving and people being in mourning, and you know, that kind of emotional state that as human beings we go into when we lose our partners, those walking with us on this earth journey. How did writing that poem help you to manage that?
Was that before my mom died? My mom died a year before.
Oh.
And it was difficult for me to deal with that. So having written this piece, it was not something I could just write in a few minutes. I had to digest looking at the photographs that he shared with me before, and looking at the man himself and seeing that spirit. I've never met this man before, but just seeing how this man was well loved. Whatever he did in life, people drew to him. His family were very supportive, and just to hear that he just died, perhaps just like that, it was heartbroken, right? With the same situation, similar situation where my mother was concerned. She left us. I saw her just a few hours before she passed, and when I got the news, I was like, "Where mean mommy gone? Where is she gone?" And just looking at their faces, I knew that she was actually gone. So I mean, it's just a transition. I don't know the whole story, but we must have come from somewhere to be here, and we have a task to perform, and we must move on from this present world to wherever else we move on to. So for me, it's just a journey, and whatever you do in the middle, which is here and now, we have to make it impactful to move on.
Wonderful. And so, you know, in according with who I am, I just like to say light and progress to the spirits of these people you just mentioned. I pray that their spirits are well.
Yes,
Wherever
I
they
hope
are.
so too.
Yes.
I wrote two more pieces. One is To See This God, and the other one is The Liberated Catwalk. I want to try with the Liberated Catwalk first.
Fabulous.
You might like that one.
Oh, I'm going to like all your poetry. I'm going to love all your poetry.
My daughter, Thank you. All right, so the liberated catwalk. Lights, camera, action! Boom, 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 boom. With a passive frame of mind, she glides in a militant mood down the catwalk. Straight-faced, strutting in her glory, concealing the debauchery done to her vulnerable frame. Her hair reflects the radic, and makeup disguises the constant scars received. The crowd cheers at the strong idol, yeah! Admires her wit and prowess, yet she never smiles. Automated in fear that after this performance, she has to go back to her own nightmare where oppression, suppression, and aggression awaits to terrorize, manipulate, and demonize her worth, her existence. Such a person of great talent and intellect who wows the outside world, but couldn't protect herself or the children she brought into this world. She knows that somewhere inside her head, she can walk the liberated catwalk in her own home, becoming the heroine her children longed for her to be. But how? She was planted, incarcerated, mesmerized, and trapped by the man who claimed that he loved. The crowd cries for encore, encore! And she fills her confidence that though they don't know her story, her assailant strategically positions himself with taunting eyes that said, "With me, you will never win." Defiant in her spirit, a volcano erupted inside. No one expected her next step. Facing him, she removed her French coat, exposing the many bruises and scars all over her body. There was a loud hush from the audience. The music toned down as flashing lights, zooming cameras, and media interests captured this unfolding scene. All eyes on them, while the audience barricaded, preventing him from escaping these words she had to say. "I am no longer your prisoner. No more abuse. You have no more control over our lives. Arrest him!" Everyone was hushed. Her friends covered her, and for the very first time, she gave the most beautiful smile. Boom, 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 boom. That's a wrap! Cut. That's that.
I'm just taking a moment to honor the power of what you have just shared. Hence my silence.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Love it, love it.
Awesome.
Christine,
Yes.
I must ask you, because there's so many themes and perhaps schemes encapsulated in those words. And this is for me personally what I love about poetry. You can say so much. It's so much with these few words. I mean, poetry, you know, as I said, it's the language of the soul, it's the language of the gods. You have said so much in this poem. If there were three things you wanted an audience to take from this poem, and especially an audience of women, what would those three things be?
Number one, love yourself. Number two, empower yourself. And number three, know that you are stronger than anybody says you are. And live it.
Profound. Yes.
Gentlemen, you have to give me a little bit more than that. You have just been gifted with such awesomeness from a woman. Go into your souls. We have been told that men shouldn't show emotions. They shouldn't cry. They shouldn't feel. I am giving you permission right now in what you have created as a space for women. We show emotions. Did you hear the point? So if you're in our space, try to do better than that. Try telling me how you feel about that poem there.
Oh, the poem there is really, really out of class. It touched me. It touched you, yes. And it's, you see, the vision, the visionary, the vision, you know. It's just wonderful. Really wonderful.
May go call your name Courtney if you don't answer, so you might as well.
I know. Yeah, no, I find it like, talking about liberating part of men, it is so awesome that, we see that a woman sometimes feel, oh, she's been locked up or in prison. And, oh, this is a way that you can liberate yourself. And I see her even talk about, empowering yourself. And now we live in a time when, men have to admit that women are more empowered than previous times, especially in our time. And, I concur with most of the things that you were saying, that, surrounding men with love, but men need to surround women with love also.
Indeed.
And the poem speaks to the real strength of a woman too. And most men don't recognize that,
Well, we have some foreign teacher. Sorry,
Yeah.
maybe go ahead.
No, we are in Shaggy song, talking about the strength of a woman, the power of a woman, and I always love to hear that song, whenever I get a chance, I just go and listen to it. And I said, we have to recognize it.
Yes.
And I, as an individual, always recognize these things in women,
In a space where we've been told by other people's culture, we've been informed by cultures from other places and other people, where we're told that women are the weaker, which just, what I find interesting about this, there's so much, I don't want to start this conversation really, because for me it's a deep conversation, but just to touch on it a little bit. It says women are the weaker sex, but you put me in a school that taught me positive, comparative, and superlative. So weaker comes after weak. Are we saying women are weak? If women are weaker?
Wonderful, yeah, brilliant.
Who thinks about that? Who thinks about that? When you made us weaker, you kind of diminished the men, didn't you? In as much as you were perhaps aiming to diminish us. Women have never been weak. Men have never been weak, especially when they take the hues of our people. We are strong. We are strong. We're strong individually and more powerfully so collectively. I want to thank Christine for that poem, from also the point of view that, Christine, you have spoken for many. Some who can speak for themselves and some who perhaps cannot even find the voice to speak. And so this poem speaks for many, to many, but for me, most importantly, for many, the many women who don't have their voice, who have lost their voices, who may have their voice, but for some reason, all the normal restrictions and conditions that we know of will not speak out. And you have been brave and you have been strong. And that's why I will always say poets, storytellers are very special people, because we sometimes, you all sometimes have the strength and have to find that strength to speak when others can't or others cannot. And so I really honor you for bringing this poem as, as the voice in front, but representing so many others.
Thank you for the opportunity. It definitely is something that I have experienced myself. Oh, sorry. Could you answer this one, please? I've had experience, and I've seen other women struggle through this same situation. Women have died bearing. I've other pieces that I would not read now because they're too graphic. When I say graphic, it's too powerful. It's just like the Liberated Catwalk. I think this is one of my other best pieces that I've written, based on my own experience and my mother's experience and other women that I've seen. Women who, as you said, they're in a relationship. They might have the money, they might have the car, but they are afraid. They can't stand up for their own children. They have to take whatever he says or does to them and then give them plastic surgery and all of that stuff after, and the children suffer. They suffer forever because that trauma stays with them, and their mother would not be the one to stand up, or maybe she tried to stand up in one case where this woman lost her child inside of her. She didn't even know she was pregnant when she stood up to the man, her husband, and said, "You are messing with my child. Why are you doing that?" And him kick her, bleed out, straight to hospital. And she had to be silent for the rest of her life until she died, right? So these are the things that women really need to, if you find that you're in a toxic relationship, get the hell out. Get out of it. Don't stay in it. You better go and I'm getting a little emotional.
It's
now,
okay. It's okay. We have created a space where it's perfectly okay for you to say who you are as woman. Courtney, in his opening comment, talked about this being a space for women writers and women storytellers. When women write and tell stories, it has meaning. It's not superficial. It comes from somewhere. And I think there's a way we're talking about some of that today. It's okay to come and have poetry, but where does that come from? And what are we hoping that it will impact? So please, if your spirit guides you and you're comfortable, don't hesitate to share in this space. Isilda, are you comfortable with that?
Very much so, comfortable.
Okay. So, you know, as let your spirit guide you. You're in a safe space.
One of the other things, you have young men and young women. The Liberated Catwalk is not necessarily about a female only. Boys are molested too.
Yes.
By relatives, by very, very close relatives, by their own mothers, by their own fathers.
Yes.
Right? And these are the things that they hush, the family hush it up. And then these people go around with scars and they cannot have a decent relationship or a loving relationship with their partners because of the stigma. And every time you touch them, they feel, oh my God, this is happening to me again. And what is wrong with you? Why can't I have a relationship with you? Because the trauma is still in the back of your head. Or should I say in the forefront of your head, right? And these people out there behave as if it's okay. And they go and they praise the Lord and hallelujah. And I wonder why lightning don't strike them dead, right? But then again, the wheat and the flour have to live together until the day of harvest, right? Right.
Yep.
So that is just it's sickening, and it's very upsetting, and I'm hoping that at some point in people's lives they will find out an outlet to speak about these things and change that, empower other people, young men, young women from early, you know, about the do's and the don'ts and all of that stuff. But sometimes you can't control it because they're living in a space and you can't do nothing about it.
Yes. And so, Christine, what I would say to you, and this is a personal comment to a certain extent, I'm not representing Flavius and anybody else here, Courtney, but I would personally want to say to you, I'm awaiting your poems that can be part of the catalyst to start the process that it needed to address the issues you just mentioned. I'm waiting for your poems.
Okay, no problem. They're here.
And in the meantime, I asked Isilda to have thought about some certain things while she was reading a poem just now. But I think in fairness, I'm going to open this question to you both, and even to the gentlemen in the space. We know that poetry is an ancient art form. We know that poetry was in existence. Well, the origins of poetry for me is lost in antiquity. So I don't, but that's not something I think about. Poetry has come into being before many other forms. Well, it's probably the earliest form of this kind of literature in a way, but it has come into being and served some very, very powerful purposes for something so ancient, for something that is so ancient. You can go way behind the times of, and I'm going to do something that I would normally do, the Greeks, the Romans, but you can go all the way back past even the Kemetic space, going way, way, way back. Going back to the Sumerians, as some people say, because there was evidence of poetry found in their system, and you know that's a long time ago.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So if poetry is such an ancient art form, how do we find it still relevant in a today where everything is new? Must be, you know what I mean? And if it's not new, it's not relevant, and even old people are diminished. Old ways of thinking are looked down upon, and it's like, you know, them so primitive and prime. Yeah. How do we find that poetry still remains relevant? So I'll ask Christine first to comment on that. Not Christine, sorry, Isilda, because I asked her to think about it.
Oh Lord, I was so hoping that Christine would go first.
But that wouldn't be fair because I warned you earlier, right? I gave you the
Right,
note.
you
That's
warned me,
you
but I
noticed.
didn't even remember. I was so captivated by Christine's poem, you know, and
Wow.
thinking about it, you know, and all of that. So, but anyway, how do we find it still relevant?
Why are you still
Well,
writing
for
poetry
me,
today? Excuse me, you're ancient, you're old. Poetry? Really?
I know. And so for me, because my poetry is in the dialect form, it might carry a little more relevance. I'm not, let me not put it that way. But for
But
sure.
it's still poetry. It's still poetry.
It's
And
still
as you say,
poetry.
it's an
But for sure,
ancient
this is
art
because
form.
in Jamaica here now, because people can more resonate with what I'm saying, or it's the dialect and the flavor that it comes in.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you and I are having a conversation. It's a story, a conversation. I'm being entertained, and I can identify. So some persons do see it as still relevant. Some don't, because I would see where sometimes, you know, persons, you would say to persons, oh, I'm a poet, or you would say, oh, I'm a published author. And then they say, what kind of book do you, and you said, oh, poetry. And instantly it's like, yeah.
Excuse me, you're right.
Yes, it's like, oh, that's not an author. You're not an author. It's a poet, you know?
It's not a
But
best-selling
I
novel,
can
right?
also understand why some persons will not share our passion, because I listened to Christine just now, and the flavor that she brought across, that it's like a story, really. I was visualizing every word, you know? And how she said it, no, if she put that in a book, no one would be able to bring it across as how she did.
In a
And so,
poem.
yeah. And so this is why sometimes poetry becomes irrelevant, because the poet is writing it with a rhythm in their mind and a flavor, but the person who is reading it don't have that rhythm in their mind and that flavor that the poet is writing it with. And so they're just reading it, and it's like, yes, I read it, but that's it. And so that's where the irrelevance comes in. But
So do you still see a relevance then? So we see that it could become irrelevant, but do you still think it maintains a relevance?
it does,
Using
yes,
it, so obviously you do.
yes,
So
because
I think
I am surprised at the many shows that are happening concerning poetry. There's a
right.
huge platform out there for poets, and I mean, especially poets who use what do you call it, music and poetry together, and you know, you would be surprised. You use the word poetry is the language of the soul, and we have a lot of persons who are deep, because it doesn't take a simple person to write poetry. You know, and so it is still relevant because persons, we are still doing it, we are still coming together there, we still have shows, people are getting paid from it, people are traveling all over the world because of their poetry. So yes, it still carries
Yes.
relevance.
Christine, your comments, I'd appreciate your comments, and along the same line. This is an ancient art form, its origins. Nobody knows about the first poems. As a matter of fact, what they've found in the space is that, what they consider to be some of the earliest poems were written as hymns and praises to the gods. So we talk about something that goes deep, goes really beyond even what we currently think about when we say poetry. Do you think that this is still a relevant form in today's society, Christine? And what do we expect in terms of outcomes from it? What would poets be using these poems to do? And what would the receiver, the one who is listening to that poetry, be planning to do with that information? Is it relevant? Is it something that people go, sure, I just one poem, or do they see that change is happening even within them because they've heard or read this poem? How do you see this being relevant in current space?
I think that poetry is a language of your literal soul. You are a witness of your time. And in that time, if you are so connected to the elements, so to speak, then whatever spiritual element that there is that moves you to record these pieces in a certain rhythm or rhyme, or put it on paper or share it with others, such as the hymns and the psalms and stuff like that. I think for every person who has written a poem has done it within their capsule of time.
That's right.
And it is relevant for their capsule of time. So when I go back to Shakespeare and I read stuff that Shakespeare did, I'm like, really and truly, that's what they did back then? And when I read coming down, even David's, Solomon's, and all of those persons writing, I'm like, the future, the past, and the present, you're listening to different things. So I'm right now here in this present for this time. So what my responsibility is, I will literally hear the words in my head. And if I do not grab that pen or that pencil and that notebook, I lose it. I got one this morning, and that was about what was happening in Palestine. I did not write it, so I've lost it. Right? I've written other pieces where people, when they listen to it, they're like, that's a scary piece. It's scary because it's the person who experienced it, and how that person had to live with it in the future, right? And how that person's children had to live with the trauma of whatever happened to them. There's one that I call Shadows on the Wall. That's graphic. And another one called Mama, and it's talking about the relationship between a mother and her child, not having a father figure around. He ends up killing his mother because she was so hungry for him, giving her stuff when him teeth it. So when he really kills somebody now, he must say, Mama, you know, see what go on. She not helping.
That's right.
So him shoot her.
And I'm glad you sensitized us to this one, Christine, because now that you have sensitized us to it, we're going to kind of keep that so that we know that when we come to it, it's going to be, it's something that we really have to manage. But I want to go back to Isilda while we process that so that we are ready for you when you come with it. I want to go back to Isilda and have her share some more with us of what she wants to share with us.
Okay.
But guys, now prepare yourself. You've heard Christine, I'm sorry. Thank you so much, because I do know her name. Christina has said, so prepare yourselves spiritually and otherwise, emotionally, to manage what she's bringing. Remember that what she's bringing is of our society, in our society. But in the meantime, let's hear Isilda.
Alrighty, so this one is called Real Man. Of course, we're living in a time where it's hard to find real, that's the word, real men. Let me not say, all right, let me put it a little better.
Yes, put it.
It's difficult. Anyway, This one named Real Man. Me never did call you. All that fella over there. Me calling all the real man them, so please get that clear. For there is a big difference between a boy and man. And if you never know, well, it's time you understand. Man take care of them pitney. Boys give lunch money. Let me go back again. Man take care of them pitney. Boys sometimes give lunch money. Man treat them family right and call them wife honey. Boy box and kick woman and call her girl pan street. Real man treat females with respect. Boy want every woman they meet. Man counsel them children, spend time to show them the right way. Boy just go road every day, goes how him get Jackie and fear. Real man work hard to make a better living. Boy, I wait for other people to give him a little thing. So next time when me say man, it's not no dolly house with toys. It's time we know to separate the real men from the boys. Aye, aye, aye.
I would love to say to the audience that is sharing with us today that please remember you're on the Real Stuff podcast. You will get nothing other than the real stuff. Just like what our sister Isilda just delivered, because that's real stuff. Please don't be here if you don't want to hear the real stuff. You are warned. It's called the Real Stuff podcast.
Definitely so.
And so, my sister, what a powerful poem. You've separated the sheep from the wolves, the men from the boys. And as a woman, can't forget the woman energy that we were carrying this thing, as women, poets, and storytellers. As a woman, you have laid out, you have firmly laid out and clearly laid out the criterion that needs to be met based on whether you're a boy or a man. And this, I think, is one of the powerful responsibilities that women have reneged on. We have reneged on setting the standards. Laying out, here's what a real man does. Dad up, you bring the money. You don't send lunch money. But my sister, you've made it so clear. I pray that many of the women who will hear this will understand that this goes even beyond the voice with which you are speaking. It goes to the spirit because it's coming from your spirit. And it is saying, women, stand up. Let us be very clear about the criteria for whom we will accept in our lives as men, real men. I apologize for the word. I don't like the real men because I would love to, I'd hate to think we have unreal men. So I love the man part of it. Man, here is what you need to be for me to call you man, because I don't know what I'll call you other than that. If me not call you man. But for me, a powerful, powerful statement. And I'm glad you're setting that example as a woman to say, we are the ones who set the standards and make sure those standards are lived up to. Men, we're helping you. Man, we'll help you. And if we put you down, I will bring you up and up and up till we can surround you with love. And as Courtney says, in return, you surround with love. Because there's no one-way street in spirit world, If you get surrounded with love, you have to turn back and surround with love. You have anything else for us, my sister?
All right, so this one is I'm coming out. Okay. Who wants to stay can stay. But this woman coming out. Me tired of the same old of poverty, sickness, and drought. You ask how me I go do it? Well, make me tell you straight. The only reason me there so is because me exercise my faith. So me I go let go certain things like worry, fear, and doubt, and start operating a sound mind and make positive things come out of my mouth. Me I go make sure me know the scriptures. To quote them for my problem. Me sick and tired of lack. It's time me take scriptures to them. Me I come out of nothingness into some blessings, my child. For my Jesus dead on the cross for me and you can live in style. When you say, what is faith? Well, me I go explain. Faith is when you tell things to God, then believe and tap complain. Years me there a fight and the battle belongs to the Lord. Me make up my mind to stop the fighting for my God and no further. Some say fly the gate. Isaiah said, he must wait. Me know God is great. So all we have to do is just have faith. Aye.
No, sorry. You can say I have to say amen, sister. Let the church say amen.
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 Powerful. I love the part about bring the Bible verse to quote on the situation them. And
Amen.
again, for me, this speaks to how women will use their spirituality for the growth and enlightenment of all. It's interesting to me that we created this, in a sense, we made it a woman's space when it was called, a space for women, storytellers and poets. We actually then deemed it a woman's space. But have you realized that all of life has come into this space because women participate in all of life?
Mm-hmm.
And so to me, it is perfectly accepted. We have talked about men, we have talked about the children, we have talked about the boys, the girls, we have talked about so many other aspects of life because this is where they begin, in our wombs. And so everything, every aspect of life belongs under the purview of women. We can advise on these things. We can help to heal. We can help to learn, to grow, to develop one to another, perhaps starting with ourselves, sharing, but teaching our children. And our children happen to be men and women, boys and girls. So when we teach our children, we're teaching the whole wide world and everybody who walks within it. That's a powerful responsibility that I think sometimes we don't realize the enormity of the job we've been given. And there's no way God could have given that job to us if we couldn't do it. Because they say God not give nobody no more than he can bear. That means we can bear, we can do this. And in a place where I was just talking about relevance, we are still relevant. Our poetry is still relevant.
It is.
And well, as woman and womanhood, we're still very relevant. But we have been diminished. And now, as I said, I've seen women standing up more. I've seen more conversations about women. We ourselves had a conversation the other day about women, spirituality, and the healing of a nation. And so we want to walk back in our space where we have the rights and the responsibilities and the resources to do what we need to do. I think we should be ready for Christine. Christine, I'm turning over to you. Take us with you. Take us there.
Okay, this one is about Mama. Mama, blood upon my hand. See it here? See it there? It a run, it a drip. Mama, it just help the boy them kill a man. Take him gun. What you gonna do, Mama? Help me now. Lord, give me faith. Check him out. Yeah, me flesh and blood and me one little youth. Suppose then go with you. What good is you to me? You know what? You have to go out of sight and figure about it. Mama. Lord have mercy. Why you never discipline me when me did dry eye? I can't sleep again because me keep seeing him face. When death take over and he fall out of place. He shoot my mother. Take it out. We can't take it no more. Take me out of the misery or me go out of this door. Son, me tell you already. And me I go tell you again. Shut your mouth, boy. Put on the weapon, go wash off the bloody clothes and go on your bed. All right, Mama. Since it's a you see it, I go and blow out your brains and make you feel how it feels. No. I drop me down. No, son. Boop, boop, boop. No, Mama. You said too late. Mother falls to the ground, heavily pregnant, while her son cries over her. 2 policemen came and gently takes him away. That's it.
The space of women.
Yeah.
Space of women. Each child, each human being who participates in these kinds of activities are the child of a mother, are the child of a woman. And to me, it is instructive that whether the woman knows because she has heard or seen, or not, or she feels she doesn't know, her spirit knows. Her spirit knows, because our spirit is one vast intelligence. My spirit is not separate and apart from yours in many ways. And so the spirit of the person who is encouraged to transition through the action of others is no different to ours. Spirit is a vast consciousness, a vast entity. And then we take a little bit of it and says, this is the part that I will work with. It's not a separation, even though we look at it as an individualization, but it is not a separation because spirit is spirit. It's interesting to me that I keep saying storytellers, poets, but perhaps I could just say poets and get away with it now because Christine says she's a storyteller, but you know, she has presented primarily as a poet here. Are powerful people, are important people, because in a way we also have to be empaths. You can't just sympathize, you actually have to feel what's happening with other people before you can truly represent it. I want to give praise and I want to give honor to Isilda Clark and Christine Neal. Please remind me of your other name, Christine.
Right for now.
Okay. Well, it ain't wrong. It's right for now. Christine Neal, right? Because you have done a powerful job of representing here that which you have represented, those aspects of life that you have brought to the forefront in our minds, in our spirits right now. Those aspects of life which you, through your poetry, you're inviting us to look at, catalyzing our own emotions around these thoughts, ideas, issues that you have raised, these challenges to our well-being that you have raised. And I thank you. I thank you for the personal growth it has beckoned me into. And I pray that anyone listening here will be open-minded and open-hearted and open-spirited, so they too can receive the blessings that you have brought into this space of the Real Stuff podcast. I want to briefly ask Isilda about Believe Publishers. What is your vision for Believe Publishers?
Alrighty. So being an author, my first book was published by someone, and I was not so pleased with how the person would have, the administrative side of how the person would have dealt with the whole process of me getting the book out. Now, because I've worked in administration all my life, you know, so I would know a lot as to what to expect. And so when I decided that I wanted to publish my other books, I said, well, it's not me. Sometimes a seed is planted in you through someone else. because there was this other person a classmate who I had not heard from in years, and we got in contact and through another person after they wanted me to do something, and he reached out to me, and then surprisingly he is an author, and we realized that we had used the same publisher, and he said, we're complaining. He had some of the same girls that I had, and so, he said, why don't you just, start your own publishing company? No, it just, for me, it was like, nah, but the entire night, I couldn't sleep. His words were just going over and over in my mind. And I realized that I needed to act on it. But I had a problem. The problem was I didn't believe in myself. And so I went through 21 days of shutting down with the Lord, where he was teaching me how to believe in me. Hence the name of the publishing business, Believe Publishing. Because I had to believe myself into knowing I could do this. Now for me, Believe Publisher, I wanted to be that space where anyone, especially poets, can know that they can get their work out there. They can become an author, published author. My rates are very much below what everyone else is. Not because I'm just starting out, but because I just want to do this so that persons can get their work out there in print form, and for them to believe in themselves. And because it really does do something for you when you have that book in your hand and to say, this is me. When you have your name on the cover of a book and you know that this is me, it takes you to another level of oh Jesus, what's the word? But anyway, you believe in you then.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
Right? And say, I did this. And so I am there for those persons. I guide them, even some persons who might not be able to find the money to get it done. I guide them step by step. I give them consultation as to how they can get it done on Amazon.
So you provide a service as well.
I provide services.
That's
and even
fabulous.
sometimes, I'm led to just say, don't charge, just guide this person, because you will have persons who they have this passion. They really want to compile their poems together and get a book out, but they really don't have the money.
That's
they
right.
don't. Going into this business, I realized that a lot of persons just think that publishing is one tool. So they come to you and they think that they would be like, oh, how much to get this done? And when you quote a figure to them, they are blown away because they just think that, oh, it would have been way, way cheaper. But, and then also the marketing aspect of it is another thing. So sometimes, you give guidance in that. So I am here to help persons to believe in themselves more, to say that I can become a published author. Just take it step by step by step. I do installments. As I said, I reach out to people and say, whatever you have, just I will accept it. This is normally what I do. This is the normal thing for me is to accept 50% before I start the work. But
That's
for
right.
you, and I'm realizing what is happening with you, and I pray with people, I counsel them, I baby them, I do just about everything to make them be comfortable, just for them to be able to have their dream out there. So that's
You bring over all of you to the process.
That's it. Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Christine, you mentioned in your opening comments that storytelling was also part of who you are. Can you comment a little bit like that and tell us, what we're going to see manifesting Christine as the storyteller? What are we looking forward to?
As a storyteller, what I do is to change the way a book is looked at from a child's perspective, from the baby, down to the older, younger person when they reach them 100 and odd years old.
Woo, nice.
the reaction that I have been having over the years as a volunteer, I need to stop volunteering now, need some money.
Listen to me, you're laying treasures away. It will come.
Thank you. Is to have a child look at the book, read the picture, we talk about the picture and we get things out of them. What are you looking at? What is this talking about? Why is this bird looking like this? Or why is the worm, or why is the cockroach over there? And they're telling me stories, and there are things that I am seeing, they're seeing that I am not seeing. And I'm like, that's good. You're seeing different things coming out of them. So okay, so we've read the picture. Let's find out what's going on into the book itself. And then when we start reading, I'm like, okay, stop right there. You see those open and close quotations? That's a voice. That's somebody's voice. I want you to give that person, that character, a voice. And by the time we're finished reading the book, the whole way to an idiot, because I'm like, reading is basically putting characters together, giving them different voices and making the story come literally alive. So when you're finished, when you've closed that book, you would definitely want to go, whenever you see another book, just looking at the picture, you're going to start analyzing the picture, like, okay, this should be good, or this doesn't look good, and you start reading. And this is what I find helping our children, that some of them are lacking when they have a script in front of them. Is hell and powder house for them to interpret the words there. Right, so as a storyteller, I read, I express, I get them involved, I get them around the table. Come, you read this part, you read that part, and I guide them along. I think this will help in a lot of ways going forward in their school academic life.
Christine, sorry. Yes. I'm with Christine. Christine, could you tell me if you have any publications or what the names of them are?
The only, publications I've had, the one that I haven't read here to see this card, it was published last year with the Nomadic Jamaican Poets Nomadic College and School Tour Anthology. The one I read for you with To See What Is Man.
Yes.
This was published in the, what you call it now, the program of the deceased, which was really, it was actually published on the third page onto the page. Yes, so I was very honored to have this one.
Oh, yes.
I have a lot more stuff going on, but I haven't actually published my book as yet. And today you have actually said to me, you need to stop sitting on them something.
Yes, yes, and please visit with Isildo.
Yes, I need to get them out.
Yes, yes. You don't have permission to keep all of that to yourself.
I buy the ISBN about 2 years ago. and I need to get going now. I have also stories that I've written already, which are also exciting. And sometimes I doubt myself. She said, believe. You need to believe in yourself, definitely, because sometimes you're sitting literally on the golden egg.
Oh, yes. Put the H before the egg, please.
Yes, yeah.
We're Jamaicans.
I know, egg.
Egg. Hello.
Egg. That's what I said a while ago. Egg. We're sitting on the golden egg. And we know it because we're looking at other people and their accomplishments and don't know. So your accomplishment is just waiting in the wings to
just waiting for you to step out. Just waiting for you to step out. Yeah.
So definitely have that on my bucket list for this year.
No, that don't go on the bucket list. That comes before the list, well before the two lists before the bucket list.
That's yes, definitely.
So I really have been very pleased and very blessed. And Courtney, thank you so much for asking me to have done this job of really interfacing and oh, sorry, what you call it, moderating, but whatever the language it is.
Yeah, well, really, moderating, facilitating.
Yes, whatever it is, but certainly being in harmony, being in ceremony with all who have decided to be a part of the show online and all those who will look and hear and be blessed by all that has been shared. It is left for me to ask our poets, our women poets this morning, is there anything else you would wish to share with us? Even closing words, even words of, poems are nice, but if not, then what I would call some closing words.
I'm just happy for this platform. You know, few as we may, I really enjoyed this morning. You have been a great facilitator. That's the word,
Oh, thank you.
or moderator. You know, I wasn't expecting, you know, these questions, but I enjoyed listening, and I enjoyed Christine's poems, stories actually. For me, they're actually stories. I mean, I've never heard a presentation like that before, you know, and really and truly, as you would have said, that she don't need to put that on the bucket list, you know, just do it. You know, just do it. It's full time. Now sit down, Panny Hig.
And I want an autographed copy of the book.
That's true. Amen.
I'm ordering
So-
that now, not for free. I'm paying for it.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. So,
So please
I
write
thank-
on your first order.
right. And me too. And
Oh,
Courtney,
see, two sold.
yep. So Courtney, I thank you for extending the invitation. You know, I am just happy to be here, and I've learned so much from you, Madam. I can't remember your name.
Carol Fofier, doesn't matter.
Bofier.
F-O-F-I-E, Fofier, or Carol.
Okay.
I answer
Carol.
to those names.
I
Yes,
think I remember that. Okay,
that's
Carol. All right.
perfectly fine.
Right. So I love your flavor, you know.
Oh,
Yes, really do. And
strawberry
you-
vanilla with something on top.
So when other persons say they're blessed, when other persons say they're blessed and highly favored, you have to put an L in it. You are blessed,
Yes.
highly favored.
You are the best, Isabel.
All righty. So you take care, everyone. My pleasure. Being
Thank you for being here with us, Isilla.
pleasure. It's a pleasure.
Christine, any closing thoughts, words, poems?
Yes, Miss Isilda, you prime them turn up, pop, 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 pop. Me glad bag bust, and you walk
Oh!
from the floor when me hold my belly. And no man, you think them turn up. I love them. I love the way you express yourself. I love the
Yes.
commentary. I love it. It's all real life. It's the strike, the women striking. I love how you turn
Oh
up
my
the thing.
gosh.
Yeah, man, I love how you turn it up. You turn it up wicked. And then the baby father issue, yeah, man, that one that wicked, that nice. When we say wicked, you know, so we mean it. Nice, nice.
Yes, ma'am.
So I love it. I love it. I love it. Hats off to you, and I wish you all the best. And trust me, I hope that we keep in touch. I mean,
Yes.
in this circle, when you reach out to Courtney and stuff. So, yeah, man, the thing, I love it. I love it. In closing, definitely, I just think we should just live for the moment that we are here and make an impact, any amount of impact that we can make. The people will remember us and remember the inspiration, the motivation, the stuff that we've left, the things that we do to make life even more flavorful in our
That's
own, right? And
Thank
for
you.
the-
And before I hand back to Courtney, Mr. Flavius, any thoughts you would like
Yes,
to share with us?
Oh, definitely. As we kind of grapple with where and when poetry was started, you can leave with this, that poetry is one of the few things in life that is totally universal.
It is.
It is everywhere in the world, every
There's no
nation,
culture. There's no culture.
every society. Yeah, nobody can own it. You know, everywhere in the world, poetry comes from everywhere,
culture.
every kind of people, everybody. So I think that is one of the things that make it so powerful.
Yes.
And we should really, as poets, you have to see yourself as being extremely special to be a part of something that is totally, in the true sense of the word, worldwide, everywhere.
That's right. So thank you all. I really would like again to thank the presenters. Isilda, I remember when you started, you talked about the use of comedy in your poems, and let me tell you something, you had me cracking up. I was laughing so much. So keep saying that to people, because I think you need to prepare people. You prepared me. You notice I turned my mic off because I would have been laughing. I don't think anybody would have heard anything. I'd have been laughing right through because it was so perfect the way you use the comedic element to bring the poems alive. And I'm glad when artists know what they're doing. You know, it's not a buck up. You're deliberately using that to make your presentation be received a certain way. I really love that. Christine, I loved the real life aspect of your poems, how they address the reality in you know, kind of very bold, brazen words and language and tempo. I really like that. I think the two of you were perfect for my show today, and really, really giving thanks for having been able to share with you, and thanking your spirits for having shared with me. And now I'll turn back to Courtney.
Okay, thank you very much, Carol Fofe. And on behalf of the Real Stuff podcast, myself and co-host Flavius and Carl Fofe, bye from now from the Real Stuff podcast. But I just want to say one thing though, that we have to always remember that poetry and storytelling is a socio-cultural transforming tool. And as it is being said, it's happening in every society in the world. So that's my take for now. So bye from now from Real Stuff podcast.
Greetings and goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Nice meeting you, ladies. Absolutely wonderful meeting you both.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Is that it?
Yes.
That is it.
You lead us so full. You belong far away away. Ajuguala lebo buseru. Lida mua, lida sungfula. Lida mua, lida sungfula.
Well, unfortunately, this is it. Till next time. Bless.
All you gotta do is just speak. One word is enough, and I'm no longer so rough. I forget what I was trying to say. I no longer do what I was gonna do, but you're no good for me. That's why me do what set me I think of flee. Me I fi take away me say. Me I fi take away me say. Me I fi hide like a thief in the night. Me I fi get out the side.